where are we getting our data from? Because I think the buzzwords around automation, AI, machine learning is so buzzwordy at the moment that everyone says that they're doing it, but actually, are they actually doing it?
Welcome to a whole new episode of Engati CX. I'm your host Kimberly, and we're really glad to have all of you join us today. On the show, we talk to CX and technology experts from around the world. We explore, uncover, and share fresh insights on creating experiences that your customer will remember and look forward to. Engati is the world's leading multilingual, no-code digital CX platform available across 14 channels with 45,000 solutions created across 186 countries in every domain and use case. Engati has also been recognized as the top platform by Inc. magazine, Tech World, CIO magazine, and many others. We run the Engati blog, the video channel, the Engati CX podcast, receiving upwards of 400,000 visitors annually. And now for our guest. Dan Hoff-Rodrigues is the founder of the CX Square Talent Solutions, a recruitment agency that just does not go beyond by just filling a job vacancy. For Daniel and his team, understanding a company's culture, values, and future goals is integral to completely match his pool of budding candidates to a variety of vacancies and land on his desk. Daniel is incredibly passionate about community building in order to bridge the digital skills gap, in which his proactive approach that Daniel hopes to promote more diversity within the technology sector, breaking down barriers across ethnicity, gender, age, and disability. Welcome to the show, Dan. We're so glad to have you join us today.
Well, what an introduction. I couldn't have done it better myself. So thank you.
Before we dive into our amazing interview with Dan, don't forget to subscribe to Engati and tap the bell icon to get access to exclusive content coming from thought leaders from around the globe. Well, Dan, how do you see evolving customer expectations impact businesses and brands these days?
The world is ever changing. I think that, CX is obviously getting better. For me, if you think about the hiring process of any organization, that shouldn't be, it's like any journey within customer experience, your customer journey. So if you take the hiring process, if you take employee experiences, so when you've hired that person, what does that journey look like? That's your employees are your customers. And similarly, when you're going through your hiring process, how are you giving those candidates an experience as well? And that's what we're all about. So we're about working with those different customers, those employers, and even the candidates. Candidate, just because they don't pay us, they should be treated as a customer. How we are utilizing those principles and taking them during every step of that journey is absolutely fundamental in terms of being able to work with those people and give them a great experience, great feeling, no matter who they are and where they are in that process. To answer your question, I just wanted to talk about accountability, because I think what tends to happen is if you take an organization, they hire someone, they go and give them a job to, say, a business development person to go and bring in new customers for their selling their product or their service. People forget that a happy employee and a happy person that's in that organization, if they're happy every day they come up to work, every time they wake up every morning, that is going to streamline to their prospective customers and to their current customers and throughout your customer success. So I think that some employers are not accountable for that. You've got to be accountable. So whatever your brand, they should be taking pride in not only promoting what they do as a product or as an organization, but also the culture and the way that they treat and the way that they reward and the way that they recognize people. You don't need to give people money or give them a gift. It doesn't need to be a tangible reward. Just saying thank you sometimes for an employee is so much underrated, shall we say. And I think employers aren't accountable for that reason. Another thing I wanted to touch on was, do when you talk about social media calendars or, let's take, it's Pride Month at the moment, right? Why do organizations just focus on that one month to talk about these things? Why don't we have consistency around those values? And then yet you'll look at these organizations that say that they support Pride Month, they support Black Lives Matters, they support diversity and inclusion, Black History Month, all these different things that are in our social media calendar. And yet you go through the other 11 months of the year, or you go through the other 364 days, or whatever that might look like. And yet there's none of that promoted within that organization. So accountability, right, is not just around how they're accountable to their employees, it's accountable to all the things that they market their brand to be.
Do you think such things like changed persona that businesses do follow in terms of mapping their journey play an important role in impacting the brand?
It depends who your target audience is, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
I think, and I'm assuming that's what you mean by persona here.
Yeah.
That if they can identify who their ideal customer is, then that should then be able to map out the demographics of that audience. What does that demographic look like? Is it to do with religion? Is it to do with the age? Is it to do with their region? You know, where they're based? It's so much more wider and complex than it ever has. And then you talk about working from home and remote working, for example, like how are we reaching out and engaging customers? I think has become even more complex. It's not as simple as saying, you know, we're gonna pick up the phone to them and call them. It's actually more deeper than that now. You're having to, sales and marketing are collective now. Whereas before, even like maybe at 10 years ago, your sales team was separate to your marketing team. They weren't communicating. So if you've got digital platforms, your digital platform isn't just your product or, you know, the way you outreach. It's the way that you're utilizing technology at an earlier stage to that customer process. And that for me starts with the employees, with the people that you're having to inspire to get that expectation.
I completely agree with what you said, Dan. Talking about customers and customer experiences and making them happy and contented, how can we make customers happy by democratizing data through an organization?
I think you've got to manage those customers' expectations throughout the journey. So if you've mapped out the journey, then what are the expectations at the start and what are the expectations throughout? And then even when you've maybe onboarded or you've won that customer and you've implemented the product, and what are you doing after you've done all the onboarding? You know, how are you keeping the touch points relevant and ensuring that everyone's happy? Because I tell you what happens is, what tends to happen is that regardless of the data, by the way, here, I'm talking about the aspects of my own personal experience where I've had a supplier, you know, trying to schmooze me, they get me onboarded, then they sign me up, and then I don't hear from them until the renewal date. So how are you constantly checking in? So we should have a customer journey at the first phase once you've onboarded them, and then you should have another journey, I think, after that point, because the customer, that's where referrals are coming from, and that's how we then use the data is fundamental to those touch points. So if you've got your customer success team or your account management team checking in with the customer, how are they also then checking in with technical people in the organization to say, okay, cool, we've got any enhancements that can make that better for them? Are there any new features we've got? Are you checking in with the customer to see that how the usability of what they're doing at the moment is actually up to what they're trying to achieve in their own company goals? And, you know, that applies to, you know, the recruitment element. And that's why I created CX Squared, was because I wanted it to be innovative and I wanted it to be bespoke to each customer, instead of it just being, here's a job description, can you go find me some people? Because that's not a customer journey.
What do you say about automation in a specific role, and how do you think it would ensure to create meaningful businesses for customers? Do you have like a golden rule to follow?
So what I do in my business is all I can speak for my customer experience and my organization, is that we use technology to streamline certain things. Now, for me in recruitment, the biggest thing is communication. So we've been implementing, so we've got Slack implemented in my organization to speak to our employees, but also we sit inside, if businesses are using different communication channels, we sit inside their Slack channels. So if someone needs to reach out to me, it's constant, they can call me. If I need to send a file, if I, we're streamlining the process. So whilst it's not automated, it is automated in the sense of it's a given. So if they need to get hold of me, they know that if I'm not on my computer like I am now, they know they can get me on Slack on my phone, and it's instant. It pings me straight away. If they need to call me, if they want a video call me, they can reach out to me. And then also, if they've got questions about things, whatever that thing is, it's so proactive whilst being reactive. It's making things streamlined. So I think the other side of it as well is that we're automating processes in a slightly more modern way as well. So do you know how people used to, they see a CV and then they'll say, I'll do a telephone interview. We're actually getting video interview questions with the CV. So we'll have a list of 4 or 5 questions from a client and employer. We'll work with them to define those, and then we'll get the candidates to record those answers. And then this will complement the CV. So it's not just words on a CV. We get to see what their personality is like, how they could potentially fit into that organization just through their body language, and then obviously through those answers. So we're automating, but in an innovative way. My concerns and the risks that surround automation is that it can be very sort of same old. So the process or the automation of the process can be the same, and it's just one size fits all. So how are we automating, and how are we using AI in a way that can influence a customer that makes it bespoke to those people? And that's what we're doing. We're making each customer having their own bespoke service, their own bespoke packages. And that's reflected in our website. We're very transparent about that. Like, they know exactly what they can pick and choose that's right for that business. And in some cases, they won't know what's right for their business. So if you're automating something, how are you automating so you know it's right for each customer?
Looking at how automation is kind of being a very good impact in terms of as small things as communicating. Right now that we're working remotely, I'm sure some of the countries are still there. This technology has kind of helped people still stay in connect and not losing that break, right?
Yeah.
And I feel it's very essential for businesses to kind of move along with this drift so that they kind of be in their game. So talking about automation and successful intelligent technologies, what are your top tips for successful intelligent automation implementation?
This is such a bag of complexities in itself. Again, I'd like to spin it back as to, like, where are we getting our data from? Because I think the buzzwords around automation, AI, machine learning is so buzzwordy at the moment that everyone says that they're doing it, but actually, are they actually doing it? Where are we going to get this data from to have success, to make intelligent automation a success is actually my point. Because is it serving the customer base, or is it sweeping? Is it just a one size fits all? I think that there's a lot of people that are utilizing intelligent automation in a way that is reaping the rewards. But I think those are the ones that are focusing on the right demographics. So each set of processes for each intelligent automation should be tailored for each demographic. So whatever that might focus on, if you've got age, are you breaking that down? And if you are breaking it down, are we having Gen Z? Are we having Gen X? Are we having boomers? Are we having millennials? How are we breaking those down? If we've got different areas that you're looking to focus on, you might discount a certain customer base that is actually needing that automation. Are we not focusing on that because we've not got the data right at the start? So where's our data coming from is the first thing. And how are we then focusing on that on the right channels?
So in terms of digital tools that enhance CX, how effective are chatbots, live chat in terms of building customer relationships?
So I'm quite opinionated about this question because I personally feel that chatbots and where people are getting their data from, when we think about Alexa, how that all those keywords were tested, I think they were tested on potentially, and I'm going to be very bold here, on a large population of males coming from a certain diverse background. I'm not going to say what that background is because I think we could probably guess, but one, it's focusing on just men anyway. So what about people that have got impairments, that maybe have got hearing impairments? What about people that have got visual impairments? What about neurodiversity? What about the important role that females play? Then we're going to go into the other complexities of transgender. So, the best digital tools in terms of chatbots, I just don't think that the demographics are being supported enough. So I don't think it's diverse enough. Okay, so where are we having diversity first of all? But in terms of the best digital tools that can enhance CX, I think we've got to go back to the whole nature of keeping things simple. Mm-hmm. How are we keeping communication channels open? How are we utilizing certain digital tools for better productivity? We're working in a world at the moment where things are more remote, more it's more balanced, isn't it? We're getting into more of a normal world at the moment where people are starting to go back to the offices, but most organizations will probably get a mixed working week now. So what digital tools can we get more productivity out of our people in order to enhance that experience for our customers? So, a lot more customers are utilizing video. They're not reading as much. So, that's why I've got a YouTube channel. That's probably why you've got a YouTube channel. How are you adding value to the people? So digital tools for me are still going to be things like YouTube and Instagram, mm-hmm. to get bits off the channels, podcasts, etc. But how effective are chatbots and live chat? Well, I just think the key words of these things are just still a bit too vague. I did one for an e-commerce channel last week when I was looking at a return for something and they didn't understand anything I just wrote, even though the first question was, how can we help? Well, you're not asking me a specific question, and then you've got, it's too broad. So I'm giving you a broad answer. So how are you utilizing the experiences I've got? And also don't forget the people that don't even want to chat to people on the phone. Maybe what about the people that can't chat on the chatbot? What's the demographic that we're missing out on?
All the companies are going to definitely take this as an eye-opener and consider the things that they might have kind of missed out and kind of include a lot of the demographics that they're missing out. Is there any other sound bites you'd like to leave our audience with? Maybe a summary or any key points, such?
I think for me, I'm massively passionate about employer brands. And obviously they don't just need to employ people. Obviously I say employer brands because most will work when they're hiring, but think about retention. So you've got attraction and then you've got retention of staff. Okay. People leave because they've got an issue or there's something that's making them want to go elsewhere. So before you get to that point, how are you engaging? Are you listening to your employees when they're there, when they're happy, when they first started, when they've been there, touch points all the time? Don't leave it till the end to obviously start asking questions about why they're leaving, because it's too late at that point. But instead, throughout the customer journey, your employees are your customer, because if you have happy employees and they're engaged in your organization, they're engaged in your philosophy of your business, your vision, your purpose, your culture, your visions, they will be bought in and they will ultimately help you bring on more customers and also retain customers. So when you think about attraction of employees and you think of retention of employees, think about the attraction of customers and the retention of customers.
Thank you so much, Dan, for your time. Your insights were really valuable, and I know our audience is going to enjoy this interview as much as I did.
No, thank you for having me, of course.
We'll be back again with a new episode and a brand new expert soon. So stay tuned and we'll see you around for the next one. Thank you.